Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Nix, and welcome back to NASCAR Mailbox. This past weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series was at Nashville Superspeedway in the Music City, where Ryan Blaney had the best car on the long run and scored his first victory of the 2025 season. Carson Hocevar equaled his career best, finishing in second place, and Denny Hamlin came home in third. Hocevar had an interesting Cup race. He was involved in a bit of a skirmish with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. early on in stage two, and so it comes as no surprise that this week's question focuses on that incident between Hocevar and Stenhouse. And it comes from Jeremy Jackson L2V, and he said, "Do you think Carson was in the wrong?" So my answer to this, admittedly, has changed. There are some within front stretch that if they saw this video, they would undoubtedly call me a hypocrite. Because my answer now is different from the answer that I gave them then. And originally, my answer was yes, I think Hocevar screwed up. That I think he should have given Stenhouse room going into the corner, that it's lap 106 of 300. He should not be pushing that hard at that time. However, the more I think about it, the more I think that it was simply a racing incident. And I don't think, if it was any other, I don't want to say any other driver, but for example, Eric Jones and Christopher Bell, literally I think two restarts later, Eric Jones took out Christopher Bell going into turn one. I have seen zero online discourse about that incident, and I think that incident was almost identical to the one here. Both drivers are going for the same place. Now, admittedly, I do think the 77 probably should have lifted a little bit more going into the corner, but I'm looking back on it now, I don't think it was as egregious as I first thought it was. And there's another commenter farther down that says this, and I'm going to make this point as well. The reason why so many people are blaming Hocevar for this incident is because of his reputation. He has a reputation of taking people out. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes not intentionally. But there have been a lot of situations in the past where he has been on the wrong side of things in terms of like he was the instigator, whether he meant to or not. I mean, I think back to when, for example, he wrecked Colby Howard on purpose at IRP, when he took out Nick Lights at Richmond in 2023, and probably most notably when he wrecked Corey Heim in the 2023 finale at Phoenix Raceway. Obviously, the less said about that travesty of a race, the better. But the bigger thing with Hocevar is not so much that incident itself, but he has developed a reputation over time where wherever there's an incident where the front of his car caused the car in front of him to spin out, he is going to be blamed for it. And that is going to happen because of his track record. Whether that is justified or not depends on each wreck and situation. So I'm not going to say he was completely blameless here. I do think that Hocevar could have lifted in that situation, but it's one of those situations where both Hocevar and Stenhouse are going for the bottom of the racetrack. At the time, Nashville was really a one-groove track for most of the day and night. It did not really develop into multiple grooves like I thought it was going to. I think a lot of that was just with the colder track temperatures. Weather was colder than normal there, so track temps were definitely interesting. And they were interesting in the sense that they were a little colder than I think most people thought they were going to be, so that's why we didn't see the higher grooves. But aside from going away from that aside there, I do think the 77 and the 47 were going to the same spot, and they were going to the same place on the racetrack. A lot of times when that happens, the front car gets turned around. And I do think it is noteworthy that Hocevar has not apologized to Stenhouse over the incident. I'm not sure if he needs to or not. Obviously, it took the 47 out of the race, and I know Stenhouse is not happy with him, but it wasn't anything like he's done previously, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, we have seen Hocevar take people out on purpose. We have seen him wreck people on purpose, and we've seen him make far more egregious mistakes than that one. I think he's someone who has a lot of talent, he has a lot of speed, but I do think it's easier to rein somebody in terms of the speed and aggression than it is to make them more aggressive and to try to make them go faster. You can always slow a guy down just a tick. You can always make them a little less aggressive. It's almost impossible to do the opposite. So in this incident, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. He's not he's not completely in the wrong, but he's also not blameless either. I guess again, I think there if you look at it one way, he probably could have lifted. He didn't really have anybody behind him. He could have lifted a little bit going into the corner and tried again next time by. But at the same time, there wasn't really anywhere else for the 47 to go. The other part is Hocevar said after the race that he felt like he was there on the 47 and he was not going to lift. It wasn't really a case where Hocevar drove into the corner and took him out. He said after the race he thought he was there, and some drivers would have lifted. Obviously, the 77 did not lift in that situation, but he definitely didn't accelerate into him to take him out. So at the end of the day, I think it's a racing incident, but it does get amplified more because of the 77 driver and the reputation that he has. But it is something that I think is going to serve him well in the long run. That particular incident, I'm at this point I'm chalking it up as a racing incident. If you have to blame someone, I do put it more on the 77, but it's not nearly as egregious as people are making it out to be. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of NASCAR Mailbox. We are in the Irish Hills this week, Michigan International Speedway, for NASCAR Craft and Truck Series, and the Cup Series is there as well. So I hope everyone enjoys the racing this weekend. Bye-bye.
Jared Haas with FrenchStretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.